Today I want to talk about overload on three-phase inverter. So now, as we all know, overload is when your inverter is carrying something that is beyond its capacity. All inverters has its own capacity. It varies. Overload on three-phase inverters is different from single-phase inverter, because there is one problem that some people have with three-phase. They don't understand how three-phase work. When they are installing three-phase, they will think it work like regular single-phase. For instance, if you look at this interface now, if you are watching the inverter, like this is a three-phase inverter, but if you are looking at it from this interface, you may say, oh, the inverter is still at the peak, 12.03. Capacity of this inverter is actually 12 kilowatts. So when you are looking at this 12.03, you say, it's working at the peak continuous load. But this could be way high power, depending on the phase. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So this is a sample of what I'm talking about. If you look at it now, if you look here, line 3, this is line phase 3, 2. Line 2, if you look at line 2, this is 4.3 kilowatts. Also, before we continue, when we talk about overload on three-phase, it does not necessarily mean that the total load on the power is equivalent to the capacity of inverter. It could be a phase overload, because three-phase inverter means each phase is one third of the capacity. It does not mean that each phase can take any load value. It may be that the capacity is, like, for instance, this one is 12 kilowatts. It could be that your load, total load, is just 6 kilowatts. But one phase is overloaded. For instance, on this one, if you look at it very well, you will see that line 1 is carrying 2.6, which is fine. Line 2 is carrying 4.03. And this inverter is 12 kilowatts, which means 1/3 of it is 4 kilowatts. But line 2 is already carrying 4.3. Now line 3 is carrying 2.5, which is also fine. Now you check the total load is carrying. The total load is 9.5, which is still okay for 12 kilowatt inverter. But because the load is one-sided, it could even be that this, if you add even more thing, this one will go higher. So the inverter can shut down, even though it's still powering load of 9.5. It can shut down due to overload. Why? Because one phase has been overloaded. So when you are doing installation for three-phase inverters, make sure that you balance the load. Because sometimes some people will go to a place, you want to assess the load, you discover that the inverter you are using is way higher than the capacity. Maybe you are using three-phase 16 kilowatt, and the load there, when you assess it, if they power everything, it could be 12 kilowatt or less. When you are doing that kind of assessment, also check the load balance, because most three-phase, sometimes they don't balance the load. They will do it in a way that even if the load is 12 kilowatts, you will need more than 20 kilowatt three-phase machine to power it. So when you are doing such thing, make sure the loads are balanced so that you won't overload your inverter. Meanwhile, the load is in range of what it can carry. So that's what I want to talk about now. I hope you learned something. Like, share, and comment and subscribe for more. Thank you.